Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be covering the first book of Chronicles. This video took a really long time to make. Please like, comment, and subscribe because these videos actually take a really long time to make and you'd be doing me the greatest favor if you actually did do those things. But yeah, without further ado, let's cover the first book of Chronicles. This took forever! So Adam was the first man. From him came a lot of people, and it's just a lot of people. A ton of people. A lot of people! And then Seth, Adam's son, had a son named Enosh, and it just kept going, and the people just started getting, more and more. Now listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is very important, okay? So there was a guy named Noah that was active during the flood, and he had 3 sons, okay? The 3 sons were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I could be saying their names wrong. Please forgive me. And this is very important because Shem's family it plays an important part in Israel. Shem's children was Axpharad, Shelah, and Eber. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Please forgive me I'm super terrible at names, okay? I'm trying! And then there was Peleg's family. Now, Peleg had a son named Reu, and the family kept going. Reu then has a son named Serug. I'm probably saying his name wrong. And Serug's family became a big part of Israel's family tree. Nahor was born from Serug, and the family kept getting bigger. And now there was Terah's family. Really listen, okay? Really lock in, okay? Listen. Terah had 3 sons, okay? Abram, which is now Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Remember, Abraham's family is key. It plays a big role in this. Abraham, who was originally called Abram, God basically tells him, yo, Abraham, leave out your family, and you're gonna go be the father of nations. And then Abraham was like, bet. God then tells Abraham, or Abram, whatever, that he will have so many descendants that it'll be like stars in the sky. Woo, this actually happened. And then Abraham has a son named Isaac. Now, Isaac would be the next leader of God's people. Keep up, this is important. Isaac married Rebekah, and then they have 2 sons, Esau and Jacob. But originally, Esau was meant to lead the people, yeah, pretty much. And then God chose Jacob. Jacob deceived his dad into thinking it was Esau. Whatever, it's a big story. Oh, yo! You want some Diet Coke? Huh? You want this? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Now, Jacob ended up having 12 sons. Now, these 12 sons then became the 12 tribes of Israel, which is where the name Israel comes from, because Jacob's name is Israel. And then Jacob had 12 sons, 12 tribes of Israel. Because Jacob's name is Israel. He has 12 sons, 12 tribes of Israel. Sorry. And then Jacob's name was changed from Jacob to Israel because it was gonna be it would have been weird if Israel today was called Jacob. You guys get what I'm trying to say. It was important because Israel's family was gonna become the nation of Israel, God's chosen people. You guys get what I'm trying to say. And then, okay, so Jacob had 12 sons. Each son was gonna be a leader of Israel. These sons were very important for the future of Israel. Joseph, which was, Jacob's favorite son, was sold into slavery by his jealous brothers because, that's what you do when you're jealous of your siblings. And then Joseph had a dream where, his brothers were bowing down to him, and this made his brothers very angry. But God was like, yo, it's fine. It's a part of my plan. It's good. Joseph had a very rough time. And then, fast forward a bunch, Joseph becomes a very powerful, he just becomes a very powerful figure. He becomes the prime minister of Egypt. And then after that, he's basically present, not after that, but during it, he's present through a famine. And then his brothers come to Egypt wanting food. And then they didn't recognize that Joseph was, Joseph. And then Joseph, a whole bunch of things happened. Joseph forgives his brothers, and then his brothers come to live with him in Egypt. Which, what a wholesome ending to a very, very tragic story. If you sold him into slavery, why would you do that? Now, Judah, one of the 12 brothers of, one of the 12 sons of Jacob, he wasn't the eldest or the oldest, but he played a very big role in God's plan. Now, Judah had a son who died. Then his daughter-in-law, Tamar, tricked him into giving her a child. This was a big, strange story, but God used it for his plan, like he always does. Our God is a godly God. Now, Tamar had a son named Perez. Perez's family would grow important for the tribe of Judah. And then God promised that a king would come from Judah's family. This would be important for kings of, Israel, like David and Jesus. I never get it! This is so cool, dude. Oh my God. But basically, this came from Judah's line. David, the famous king, was a descendant of Judah. David was one of the kings of Israel, and he played an important role in God's plan. Reuben was Jacob's oldest son. He had many children, but he had lost his special role because he made a big mistake. His family tribe didn't grow as strong as the others. Gad, one of Jacob's other sons, also had a big family. Gad's descendants lived in a land that was given to them, and they used that land to, be strong for Israel. And they also helped protect Israel. Asher, another one of Jacob's sons, had a bunch of children too. The tribe of Asher was blessed with a lot of food and became really, really rich. And they lived in a land full of good things. Even though Reuben's tribe wasn't as strong as Gad's and Asher's tribes grew to flourish and become really cool. Levi was one of Jacob's sons. Now, Levi, it was set apart to serve the temple, per se. Basically, Levi's family was set apart from the other tribes because they were going to serve in the temple. The Levites did not own land like the other tribes. Instead, they worked for God in special ways. Now, Aaron was the brother of Moses. Now, God had chosen Aaron and his sons to become priests, or Aaron and his family. Aaron's sons became the lead priests of Israel, meaning they were responsible for leading worship to God. And sacrifices too. Now, the Levites were in charge of the temple. They sang and they played music and made sure everything was ready for worship. They also helped teach people about God. The Levites held a special job because they didn't get land like the other tribes. Their land was serving God and helping people get close to God. Now, Issachar was one of Jacob's sons. His descendants became known for being wise and understanding. They helped Israel with good advice and were also skilled workers. Now, Zebulun was also a son of Jacob, and his tribe was near the sea, and they were known for building really strong ships. They were known for trading and helping Israel when they were in a tough time. Dan's family, which, Dan is also one of the sons of Jacob, his family basically became warriors to help protect Israel. Naphtali's descendants were known for being quick and skilled. They were strong fighters and helped Israel be protected from its enemies. Now, Benjamin was the youngest of Jacob's sons. His family became known for being fierce warriors. They also played a very key role in protecting Israel. And then Benjamin's family produced the first king, which was King Saul. Saul started strong but made mistakes. Despite this, his family was important when it came to the history of Israel. Benjamin's tribe was small, but it was very strong. They were known for their bravery in battle and their ability to defend Israel in battle, or defend Israel from its enemies. After the people of Israel were taken away to a faraway land called Exile, some of them came back to Jerusalem to build cities and temples. They were also excited to return home. The priests and the Levites were some of the first to come back. They were important because they helped people lead to worship and also helped with the temple. Many families that returned to Jerusalem were also the tribes of Judah. Benjamin and Levi, they worked hard to restore the city and make it into a place of worship. Saul, the first king, fought a battle against the Philistines. Unfortunately, Saul's army was defeated and he was wounded, badly. Knowing he was about to die, Saul fell on his sword to prevent himself from being captured by his enemies. His death marked the end of his reign as a king. Saul's sons, which, included Jonathan, were also killed in battle. This was a sad moment for Israel, as Saul's family lost their leaders in one fight. After Saul's death, David was chosen to be the new king of Israel. He was anointed by God, and the people of Israel accepted him as the new leader. David was a strong warrior, and he fought many battles to protect Israel. He won many victories, making his kingdom stronger and safer. David then decided to make Jerusalem the capital city of Israel. It was a special place, and by moving there, David made it the center of Israel's worship and leadership. And then David brought the Ark of the Covenant, which basically is a chest that holds sacred and holy items, to Jerusalem. This showed that God's presence was with the people of Israel. David had a strong family filled with brave warriors brave and skilled warriors. These men were known for their courage and loyalty to David. There were 3 warriors who are especially famous for their strength. One killed 800 enemies in a single battle, another fought off enemies with just a spear, and the third was famous in his bravery for protecting David. Besides the 3, David had many other men who would help him in battle. Each warrior had special skills, and together they made David's army one of the biggest. Not one of the biggest, one of the strongest. David's warriors were not also very strong, they were also very loyal. They stood by him even when things were difficult, showing their deep trust in him as a leader. David wanted to build a temple/palace for the Ark of the Covenant because he felt that it was terrible that he was living in a palace and the Ark of the Covenant was in a tent. He thought God deserved a beautiful temple. And then God told David through the prophet Nathan that it was not David's job to build the temple. Instead, David's son Solomon would be the one to build it. Even though David could not build the temple himself, he gathered materials to build it later. He wanted to make sure everything was ready when it was Solomon's time to build the temple. And then David prays to God, asking him to give guidance to his son Solomon. And blessings too. He knew the temple was going to be important for Israel, and he wanted to make sure that it was and he wanted it to be a place where people could worship God. David then expands his kingdom by defeating nearby nations. He fought and won battles against the Philistines, the Moabites, and the Edomites, and others, making Israel stronger and safer. David had a skilled army that would use smart strategies in battle. He would often wait for the right time to attack, and he would make sure that his soldiers were were ready to attack when it happened. David also made alliances with other kings to ensure the peace and safety of Israel. Their friendship helped protect Israel from many enemies. As David grew up, so did his wealth. And then David gathered treasures from his nearby conquests and made sure the people of Israel had everything that they wanted, and not wanted what they needed. David knew that the temple had to be built properly. The Levites needed to be well organized. He was to tell the Levites to set up a group of people to lead them into worship, singing and also playing instruments. David wanted the Ark of the Covenant to be in Jerusalem because it was a sign of God's presence. In Israel, he brought it to Israel in the city with great celebration, making sure that the ceremony was respectful and joyful. David made sure that the Levites were ready for their future job in the temple. He gave them duties and responsibilities so that it would run smoothly in the temple. David gave special instructions to the priests and to the Levites on how to carry the ark, the temple's holy items, and how to lead people into worship. This showed how serious David was when it came to treating God's house with respect. David successfully brought the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. This was a huge event for Israel, as the Ark represented God's presence with his people. Everybody was excited, there was music, but there was also dancing too. They got down what it could. They all danced and sung as the Ark was being placed in a special tent. David offered sacrifices to God in thanksgiving for bringing the Ark to Jerusalem. He praised God for all the blessings he had given Israel. The people joined in worship, celebrating God's goodness. To make sure that the people continued to worship God, David anointed the Levites to lead the people into worship every day. They played instruments, sung, and read God's word to keep everyone focused on God. And then David prayed a prayer of thanks, reminding people God's promises to Israel. He spoke about God's faithfulness and how God had always been with him. David encouraged the people to seek God and remember his blessings. And then David wanted to build a temple for God, a permanent house where the Ark of the Covenant could rest. He thought it wasn't right for God to live in a tent while he was living in a grand palace. God spoke to David through the prophet Nathan. He told David that he was not the one to build the temple, that his son Solomon would do it instead. And then God promised to be with David's family forever. And then God made a special promise to David. He told David that his descendants would be kings all over Israel. This meant that David's family would have an everlasting kingdom. David was deeply thankful for God's promises. He prayed, thanking God for his kindness and asking for blessings on his family and his future generation. David understood that God's plan was way bigger and his desire was to build the temple. David led battles. He led Israel into many battles, and a bunch of the times they were victorious against enemies like the Philistines, the Moabites, the Arameans, and the Edomites. And then his army grew stronger with each victory. David was a smart leader and a strategist. He knew how to plan his battles and when to attack, and how to use his army's strengths. His leadership brought peace and security to Israel. As David won battles, he brought back treasures and goods from his enemies. The wealth helped Israel's economy strengthen, and it also allowed David to build a strong kingdom. David did not also just fight wars, he ruled justly. He made sure to protect the people of Israel, giving them safe and peace through his reign. His victories made Israel stronger, but his leadership made it a place of justice and fairness. Mephibosheth was the son of Jonathan, David's close friend. Mephibosheth was also crippled in both legs. After Saul's death, a lot of people thought David was going to slay Saul's family, but David wanted to show kindness instead. David then remembers the promise he made to Jonathan to take care of his family. He sent for Mephibosheth, who was living far, far away. He brought Mephibosheth to Israel to show him kindness on behalf of his promise to Jonathan, his close friend. And then David then tells Mephibosheth, yo, you're going to have all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul. And that he would eat at David's table like if he were one of his own sons. David treated Mephibosheth with honor and respect. Mephibosheth was amazed by David's kindness. He didn't think that he deserved such special treatment because of his family's history. He thanked David for his kindness and accepted his promise. After David's victory over his enemies, a man named Sheba from the tribe of Benjamin started a rebellion. He refused to follow David as king and gathered a group of people that agreed with him. David sent his army after Sheba. He wanted to stop the rebellion quickly before it spread. Joab, the commander of David's army, basically led the chase on Sheba. Sheba then flees to a city called Abel-Sheth Meshabach. Abel-Beth Machash. I could be saying the name wrong. David's army then surrounds the city to stop him. The people inside the city did not want trouble, so they decided to help. The people of the city threw Sheba's head over the wall to David's army. They ended the rebellion, and David's kingdom was safe once more. One day, David decided to take a census of Israel. He wanted to know how many people were in his army. However, this was an act of sin because it showed that David was putting more faith in his army than actual God. God was angry with David for taking a census, and God sent the prophet Gad to David to make him choose his punishment. David had to choose one of three punishments: 3 years of famine, 3 months of being chased by his enemies, or 3 days of a plague. David admitted his sin and chose to face God's punishments. He trusted that God would be kind even though he knew he had done wrong. David chose the plague, and the plague basically hits Israel, and a lot of people died because of it. David prayed for the people and offered a sacrifice to God. When God saw David's repentance, God stopped the plague before it got to a couple more people. After the plague ended, David praised God for Israel. He praised God for saving Israel. He wrote a beautiful song of thanksgiving, remembering how God had been his rock and his protector through his entire life. David realized that his victories and his blessings were because of God. In the song, David thanks God for saving him from his enemies and from danger. He spoke about how God had been a shield around him, saving him from trouble and giving him strength to fight battles. David declared that God had always been faithful to him. Even though when things seemed difficult, God had been there and was helping him when he was weak. David called God his rock, fortress, and stronghold, showing his deep trust in God. David promised to continue following God and told others to do the same, or teach others to do the same. He would make sure that Israel remembered God's faithfulness and his greatness. David had a group of strong warriors, and they were called his mighty men. These men helped David in many battles and were very loyal to him. Their names and stories were remembered for their bravery and their skill. Among David's men, there were 3 men who were especially brave. One of them, Joab Jabathabesh, killed 800 men in one battle. Another, Eliezer, Eliezer, that's his name, that he fought so hard that his hand became tired, but he continued the fight because, that's how it's supposed to be. And the third was named Shimei, or Shammah. He basically stood in the field and protected it from, he protected crops from enemies. There were 30 mighty men in total, each with a special story of bravery. They were known for their loyalty to David and their courage in battle. These were a group of men that helped David win a lot of victories. David deeply appreciated the bravery and loyalty of his men. He saw them as a great blessing. He was grateful for all they had done to help him secure his kingdom. As David grew older, he spoke to Israel about his last words and what he was going to say. He praised God for being faithful throughout his entire life and helping him defeat his enemies. David encouraged Israel to follow God and his guidance. Before his death, David made preparations for the temple. Even though David could not build it himself, he gathered materials and made sure everybody was ready to help Solomon, his son, build the temple. David gave a large amount of his own wealth to actually help build the temple. He gave gold, silver, and precious materials to help build the temple. Beautiful and a holy place for God. David wanted to give God the best. David prayed for his son Solomon, asking him to give him wisdom and strength to lead Israel and build the temple. He trusted that Solomon would carry out and complete the task and carry on the work that David had started. But yeah, that was the video. I just want to go ahead and say thank you for watching this series, and I greatly appreciate everything you guys have done for me. I just want to go ahead and just say this. I'm very sorry that the videos, or like the Bible series, especially this episode, took really long to actually produce. Last episode was like 2 weeks ago. I just wanted to go ahead and say this, okay? These videos take a really long time to make. They're not like the videos I post on an averagely day basis. I kind of wanted to wait until I hit 100,000 subscribers to continue this series because I wanted to have a bigger audience so more people could learn about this stuff. But, yeah, a lot of people actually wanted me to continue this series, so I will try my best. But I also want to let you guys know that I also need support on this series, because a lot of people don't know this, but if a YouTube series doesn't get enough support, we can't continue it because, we can't be pumping out like 40-minute videos and no one be watching them. But yeah, if this video gets like 100 likes, I'll do like the second book of Chronicles. But yeah, I feel like that's about it. Yeah, I thank you. I love you. And wait, hold up. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because these videos actually take a really long time to make. You'd be doing me the greatest favor. Thank you. Okay, I feel like that's about it. I thank you. I love you, and God bless.